Okay, so while the background was drying a little bit more, I added, or after the background dried a little bit more, I added more layers of white for the moon. So you just start off, you can blow dry after your second layer of the moon because you want that mixing of the wet background to mix in with the moon. You don't want it to be too stark white. You want it to look like some of the background is coming through. So I added a line, a curved line here, and then I added another one underneath the horizon line. And then I pulled very gently the white from the edge and I had it come towards the center. The same here, I pulled it sideways and then I added a little bit here on this side. The second layer, you could either blow dry or you can let it air dry. This is when people can take a break. And then once they come back from the break, they could add more white so that this outer edge is a lot more bright and stark. Okay, so now we're going to do some paint splatter, or I should say some, we're making the stars. So we're going to do some paint splatter. So I'm just going to take my big brush with some white and I'm going to add some water and I'm flicking the brush. You could flick it with your thumb or your index finger. I think index finger works better. And you're just taking your nail and creating those little splatters. The more water, the better the splatter. But you don't want it to be too much water where it drips into your painting. And you could do this step after the moon or before the moon to keep your moon clean so that you don't have to repaint it again. I'd probably do this before you put the moon in. Okay, so I'm just splattering. So we have these nice stars here. And you see I'm just taking my finger, my index finger, and creating these little splatters. Okay, you could do some more for some more drama. And this part sometimes you have to play with it a few times because sometimes it's just too watery, like how I got that watery drip right there. But if you get that, just take your finger and kind of move it around. It could look like some nebula. And then you could get a little bit more to cover that up. Okay, so now you have this really cool nighttime background. So now we are going to move into our mountains. So I'm going to take my medium brush and I'm going to put it in my ultramarine. So I'm going to scoop up some ultramarine blue, which is the more purple blue. And I'm just going to create a little outline. You want to make sure that you don't erase this part because then it will take out your moon. And just sort of map it out with your eyes first. Just visualize what shape you want. I would do sharp edged mountains versus rounded mountains. Okay, and then once you outline it, then you could fill it in. And depending on how wet your moon is, you may need to blow dry this step as well. So guest can take a little break while you're blow drying, or if you just want it to just create a few thicker layers. So you could do like 3 or 4 coats. So this is 1 coat, then this would be 2 coats. So you just scoop up more paint. And now you could paint this diagonally versus up and down, because it makes sure I look at it as if it were a realistic mountain versus not. Okay, and then I'm going to get close to this horizon line, and then I'm going to pull that diagonal line down again. And it's okay if you get a little bit of the white in there. But create long brush strokes. If you do short brush strokes, you'll get that line where you see the outline of the brush. Okay, so now you could add some white to the tips of your mountain. And so you could have some peaks so you can distinguish one mountain from the next. And you could just blend that out a bit just by pulling it very gently down. Okay, and then if it's too much, like if it's too much white, just go back and add the blue color again. And you could chisel out some of it. Okay, so I'm going to wait for that to dry a little bit more before I do the last few layers, so I could have some more drama. In the meantime, let's go into our trees. So we're going to add some trees in here. So I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to create some green. So I'm going to take some of my, actually I'm going to take some of my phthalo blue and some yellow. And I'll get a brighter green with that. So I'm just getting a little bit of a foresty green here. I'm going to add some more yellow. I'm going to mix that really well. And you don't have to mix with your small brush. You can mix with a bigger brush or a palette knife. But in this case, they only have these brushes to mix with, so they could mix with the little brush. So now we're going to create a trunk of the tree. So I'm going to paint 1, then a smaller one, 2, then a taller one, 3, then another small one, 4, and 5. I could have actually moved this over a bit. Maybe I'll do another one here. And then I'll get rid of this one. And then just smooth that out. I still have blue on this brush, so I could just smooth it out. And I could smooth that one out. So if you don't clean this brush, you can go back and correct without having to put paint back on the brushes again. And then I'm going to add, so I'm going to make this one a little bit taller. I'm going to add another one right here. Okay, Then I'm going to do the same